call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Morse?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Yes,
Mr. Beggs?
absent, excused by the chair.
Mr. Hardy?
Excused by the chair.
And Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Whoops.
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes of May 23rd, 2024.
So moved, Walker.
I'll second that, Morse.
Moved by Walker, seconded by Morse. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Are there any changes to the agenda for today? Hearing none, I'll look for approval of the agenda as written.
I'll make that, Morse.
I'll second it, Walker.
Moved by Morse, seconded by Walker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Public comment. Would we have any public comment at this time? Hearing none. Administrator Biard.
Tracy, do you mind if I?
Go ahead, I'll let you do that.
We had a proposed renewal of the lease agreement with Ferry Township. For those of you who don't know, Ferry Township owns the property where the transfer station has been for many years, and we have a lease. And we are working on entering into agreement with a third party to operate the transfer and the recycling station there, and that's why we're working on the scale. We got a copy of renewal of the lease the same way as it's written, and I talked to the township supervisor yesterday, and I would prefer that we take no action on this at this time, because after talking to the township supervisor, they want to have a say in how the recycling center and how the transfer station is going to be major renovations out there. They want to have a say on how that's done. And I understand it's and they own the property. But I'm going to ask the Ferry Township supervisor to renew the lease agreement with us with a change in the wording that any subleases will be subject to the approval by Ferry Township. And we tried to get that through, for the meeting today, but there was a communication break in it. But I don't want to just sign a long-term lease right now without that. I think we'd be better out just to put it in right in the upfront. And I understand where Ferry Township is coming from, seeing they own the property, but just to put that clause in there. And Phil, at the next Ferry Township meeting, maybe we can just discuss that with them, where we're coming from with it, if both of us are there.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I would ask that we take no action on this today until we can iron out the wording. I'm not crazy about passing something and changing that at the next meeting. So pretty much where we're coming.
Yeah, but I also wanted to point out that on the very first page of that lease agreement, there's a portion in there that states about cleanup day cap, and they wanted to take that small piece out. It's A of number 4. It says, following the first year of this agreement, both parties agreed to meet to discuss the appropriateness of the cleanup day cap for the remaining life of the agreement.
Yeah, that's because there was a cleanup day that, with the exception of Ferry Township, when any of the townships, Otto Township in particular, has a cleanup there, they do that during an off day during the week, and they pay for the services. And Ferry Township has not paid for the services before, so that's probably, if we have a third party who's gonna operate it, we're gonna have to, come to an agreement before we get into all of that. So, yeah. I prefer, are there any objections from the other board members if we just take no action on this time.
No.
So.
We still have a scale decision and there's
Yeah,
still other
and-
things to,
And Tracy and I are working on the bid process. It will be a design-built process for the scale. And we've set some parameters in there, but we can work on that process. But until we get this ironed out with Ferry Township, we're probably gonna release the bids, but I do not believe we're gonna award any contracts until we get this worked out. And Tracy was gonna contact American Classic to see if what type of proposal. They may have something that they have with Newaygo County at this time, because they do the same thing at the transfer station at Croton Township. They may have an agreement, there that we can look at.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
Would Brian be here?
I can have someone get him. Okay, great, thanks.
The chiller request.
I can give you a little bit of background on it, but Brian's probably the more one, has more of the information. The board has been discussing putting a new chiller in, and in order to do so, they want to upgrade the power that goes to that chiller before they install that. So that's what this was for, but Brian can give you some more information on it.
I know that there was a discussion that the 3-phase that's there and the 3-phase that they need, or whether it is 3-phase, it's a complete changeover in any electronics in there, the sub-feed, so I don't know what it is.
And it would be coming through ARPA funds, it looks like too, right?
Yeah, and for the people in the audience, when we talk about the chiller is our air conditioning unit. It's like a refrigeration unit. There are slant fins that are down in there, and the air conditioning actually comes through the registers just like your heat does. But it's cold water that comes through, and that's how we cool the building. And that is the original chiller when the building was built.
He was just finishing something up at the health department, but he said he'll run right over here. He said like 5 minutes.
Paul, I do think we need to hear from Brian.
There's such a discrepancy in the numbers that
Yeah, he mentioned that too.
yeah, oh boy. Well,
I can turn on a light switch, but I can't wire a chiller in for a panel.
well, at this point, could we get a department head report on yesterday, this weekend?
Sure. So, today we're having our lean audit. So a lot of my administrative staff is tied up with.
Congratulations, Sheriff.
Yeah, yep. It's a good day to get past. So it enables our lean services within the state requirements. So we've got a state police auditor going through all of our lien files. He pulls a bunch of our warrant entries and PPO entries and any sort of entry we have, and he goes through them with a real fine tooth comb. And Amy is tied up with that as well, because I saw so many of our security measures come through IT. So Amy Contreras is busy with that as well too. So we've got quite a bit going on there. We've had a really busy couple weeks. You've seen couple press releases that went out this week. We had a terrible accident out here on Tyler Road at 72nd Avenue with a 16-year-old young man on a moped. He's still in ICU at Butterworth. I just checked on him again this morning. He's got some serious injuries. Looks like he'll make it, but he's not quite out of the woods. We had an accidental shooting this week where a couple young men that were not familiar with a firearm, they found one in the home. They took it out and did some target practicing. They weren't familiar that when it was empty, a semi-automatic 9mm, and one young man accidentally shot another one. Sounds like he's a really fantastic young man from the Hesperia area. Last year he was our quarterback. Everybody says he's just such a great kid, and he should recover from this as well. But both of those young men had to get helicopter rides earlier this week from these incidents. We had a report of a boat sinking out in front of the lighthouse. So, and the report came to us through Coast Guard, and when we got on scene, Coast Guard was already there, which we thought was a little weird. Usually we arrive well before them, but Coast Guard brought a couple of big boats, and they brought a helicopter. And the report was that somebody called Mayday, said their ship was sinking out in front of the lighthouse. Well, we also had sent a deputy, and Troy Maloney was in the area, so Troy went with our deputy out to the lighthouse to get eyes on. And when they got to the lighthouse, they found the lighthouse open. Well, they went up inside. They could see no boat sinking. The ship searched, the helicopter searched until the helicopter was, they don't search long, and there's always a fuel situation with the helicopter. So they had to leave, had to go back to Milwaukee. The boat searched for a little bit longer, found nothing. We had nothing to believe. There's no debris field, nobody missing, etc. The following day, we get an update from the lighthouse keepers. Says, your people may have broke a radio when you were inside last night. I said, well, our people certainly didn't break a radio in there. But then we come to realize, well, what kind of radio did you have? And they have a Marine band radio. Come to find out that Marine band radio is used to call in the ship going down call. There was also some other evidence inside the lighthouse of some questionable activities. So Coast Guard Criminal Investigation Unit is coming to work with us, and we did recover some real good DNA sources. I'm sure you guys can figure out what that was from inside the lighthouse, and also the lens from the lighthouse light itself. They had managed to make contact with it. They didn't damage it, fortunately, but they left multiple fingerprints all over it. So we do got a bunch of greasy fingerprints from all over that lens, which is a fantastic source for fingerprints. But we're awfully fortunate they didn't damage the lens. That would have been extremely expensive for somebody to fix. So we have kind of an interesting complaint working with the Coast Guard Investigative Services on that, on a false 911 call, a false ship Mayday call, accessing the lighthouse, several different potential felonies, and we're very much led to believe that the persons involved in this, they were cited. They were visually seen. They were seen to have particular wristbands on, pertinent to an incident that was going on during that particular week, but they were not identified. So we do have some information. We've got some real good DNA. We're likely to have some fingerprints, and we have some resources available through the Coast Guard that we might not usually have. So we got kind of an interesting complaint we're working on that. I see Brian's here, so I'll move along. We're at 48 in the jail. We are down one correction officer. We did have one resignation a week or so ago. Probably the best thing for all of us. It was a mutual parting the ways. So we are working through that. We've got a couple of good applicants, what we feel are good applicants, so we're working through that, weeding out that applicant to get that corrections position filled again. Any questions for me?
Yeah.
Forced entry at the lighthouse, though, usually there's a padlock on that door.
There is. So what we're led to believe by the lighthouse keepers is the lighthouse, that the lock was likely cut. So another felony charge.
Sure. It used to be, with the complexity of the lien audits and as much resources as it takes to have them come in and go through all of your criminal histories and everything that you've done. It used to be that nobody ever got 100%. Is it still that way?
It's very, very, very much that way. So, Trevor is very particular, and you know, he doesn't, we were speaking about him before he arrived. Dr. Sobey would work very well in that position. You know, he was very number oriented, particular in a certain way. He's going through our business with a fine tooth comb right now, and we're not gonna pass. We always have things that we need to address, and then we'll address that back with him, that we've taken corrective actions on our policies or practices or whatever it is. So, but that's with every agency, not just our agency.
So some of us could never understand why those lean audits were done during the busy time of the summer and not done during the winter time.
Yeah. He said there's 3 auditors, there should be 4. They're missing one for the UP, so if you're looking for a little part-time gig, they need a UP lean auditor.
Maybe they should go up to Keweenaw County and do it in the winter time. February's a nice month up there.
Maybe they should, yeah, the roads are nice up there. Anything else? Thank you.
Well, thank you.
They asked me to fill in some time while he was.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Brian Schleck.
Yes. What questions we got?
Hi. We have some bids in front of us on the chiller.
Yep. Reasoning for that, is that what you're wanting to know?
Big discrepancy in numbers.
Oh, yeah, there's a real big, I think 2 of them are a lot overkill there. Cortez has, told me that it'll be more than adequate with what he's doing. He's using 1 less panel, adding the 3-phase to our current panel, which is gonna be a new current panel. Breakers for our current panel, are outdated and you can't buy new ones.
For you.
Yep. Yeah, see, like Shoreline, they were really vague in their pricing and why they were so high.
So it'll do the job.
This will do the job. It'd be more than adequate with Cortez. I sat down with him and talked with him actually on Monday again. And there'll be room on that panel. If we had to add 3-phase down the road, we can still add more 3-phase down the road to our current panel that we have, or that we're going to have. So basically, we got a great big panel from 1957, which we can't buy new breakers for. They don't make them. You can buy them refurbished, and they usually don't last. They usually don't. They're like $1,200 a piece for a breaker. So this will come with all new breakers, all new panel, all new connections, and then the 3-phase will be brought into that new panel. Room for more 3-phase to be added down the road if we need it. So these other ones are wanting to put an actual 3-phase panel, fix our current panel, add another 3-phase panel, which would be more 3-phase. And if we were to do an addition or something like that, we're going to bring in a different power source and do it from somewhere else, I'd say. So I don't see the reason to have the overkill on a whole other panel added.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry to me, I think, to have these guys do it. I mean, they're closer to where we are than these other 2 contractors, and it's cheaper and it's gonna do the job.
Brian has done 3 different bids on this. The only thing that I would ask is, we should probably put in the record what the bids were, before we, accept one of them, what the prices were, so the public knows what the prices were when we award the
And
contract.
the whole reasoning for this whole project to even start is because of the chiller. Okay, our connection is a delta connection for our 3-phase. So the transformer that we have sitting out front when you go up the walkway, it's a different transformer. So there's only 2 wires for the 3-phase, and the way they wired in for a 3rd wire to be jumped off out of Wild Lake. With the new pumps and motors on like the new chiller and all this other new 3-phase machinery, it doesn't support it. They can't warranty it because that Wild Lake, the voltage changes on it. So what we'd have to do is Mike Schiller was going to get us a new transformer, run us a new line of power. So we got 3 legs of power for our 3-phase. And that's why we're doing this whole change, just so we can get a new chiller and get a warranty on it down the road. So.
Yeah, and I was tickled that you spoke with Mike.
Yes.
But that,
And Mike's gonna do it for no cost to us. He's gonna get us the transformer, he's gonna run the wire the whole night.
Paul, what are the amounts from the different different from, I gave Brian my copy.
Mhm.
The middle of the road's at 44,500, and Cortez has got a $28,648.
Yes.
And,
And then the high was at 75,000.
and Cortez was the low
Yes.
for the
Yes.
work. And very capable of doing the work, and as we said, when they got the contract for the sheriff's department, just recently, they are an Oceana County business also.
Yep,
Mhm.
and they're very knowledgeable, and like I said, they reassured me that it'd be more than adequate for what we're doing.
Well, they used to have a lot of contracts, they used to do relighting of airports, and they did the relighting on the Mackinac Bridge, so they must know,
They must know
they
something.
must know how to plug, they must know how to plug it in.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah. Oh, very good. Thank you very much, Brian. I was very impressed with Cortez's bid.
Yeah, so was I, and they kind of threw me off when it came in that low after my other bids.
I couldn't figure out how you could do it for 1/3 of the cost. If we could do everything at 1/3, we'd be rich.
And it's something I've learned as the project's gone on and what our needs were. I mean, do we need to go big? I don't think so.
But then again, that wildlife is, that fourth wire now is really important.
Yep, so, okay.
Mhm. Thank you, sir.
While Brian is here, he has been in contact with, a builder to come into the health department and take a look at that area there in the conference room to give us some.
He's probably gonna stop in on the 10th. I just talked to him today of July to come in and see if he can look us up a quote.
And Brian, on that particular one, if you would just at least ask 2 other builders to look at it,
Right.
If
anybody has anybody else in mind that could take on?
Well,
that
I'm
kind of a
just
job,
saying,
because it'll be-
even if they say they're too busy and they can't do the work, we've sought 3 bids.
Okay, because there's gonna be
So-
HVAC, electrical, and building,
Yeah.
and there's quite a bit of everything in that project, so. But I can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Any other department heads?
I thought you'd never get to me.
Mr. McKean, you're back.
Morning. I wanted to bring you up to date on some of the things in the parks that are going on. Fortunately, the storm was pretty devastating to a lot of areas in the county, and unfortunately, I should say. But fortunately, our parks survived pretty well. We had 2 trees that came down at Stony Lake Park that actually trapped 2 cars in the parking area. And I was able to get our fallback forestry guy, Tom from Custom Tree Service, to come out. After about 3 or 4 hours, he was able to cut the tree out and get the cars out. So the people were quite surprised that they were stuck in there. We were too. Fortunately, I went to all the other parks yesterday. Didn't see any other damage additionally that was major. Some branches down here and there, but we escaped pretty well in that respect. Marshfield Dam is coming along really well. The dam is actually partially removed under the allowance that we have of Eagle. We're allowed to draw down about 6 inches a day from the Stony Creek. With the rain that we've had recently, that creek actually went up about 14 inches for the last few days. So the contractor that's doing the work in the wetland area has not been able to get out there in the last couple of days. I hope he's out there today. They did pave the road yesterday. They put down the base layer. Today they'll come back and do the final coat. Next, I believe, probably, well, maybe tomorrow, we'll see, maybe Monday, the guardrails will go in, and then the pavement will be striped. But before the 4th of July, we expect to have the road back open. Any work that continues out there, which there will be a lot, will not interfere with the road condition. And the road will be wide open for chariots to go down and people to start going back to their normal lives there. We were able, Conservation Resource Alliance was able to put out for bid with Tracy's help, the new walkway boardwalk. Our estimate was $142,000. Unfortunately, the low bid was $187,000. Talk about discrepancy, the high bid was $448,000. Are they all looking at the same piece of paper? I'm not sure. So we're looking to talk to the low bidder about, instead of using a cement spherical pier, there's 80 of those, they're $1,000 a piece to install. We're looking at going back to a 6x6 timber, which is very similar to the walkway that we have out of Gales Pond. The bridge itself at Marshville Dam Road is actually built on posts. They were basically, I'll call them telephone poles for lack of engineering conversation. But those are driven into the ground to about 20 feet, and something similar to that could be done. It could save us $20,000 to $30,000, which would put this within our budget. So I'm happy to say that Conservation and Resource Alliance has found multiple grants to do all this work. They are already up to $1.25 million in grants that we've gotten for this project. The Ouija Foundation actually put private money into this program as well through CRA. And the NOAA part of it is pretty much done. That's the bridge and the road construction. That's 1.1 million through Windsor Dick. There'll be some additional work that will go on, additional grading as time goes on in the park area. But the rest of this will be the CRA grants that they have from Fish and Wildlife and DNR and a whole host of people. So altogether, county-wise, we had $5,000 initially out of the parks budget 4 years ago. Been 4 years this project's gone on, that we initially voted on through the parks to fund this project, to find funding through CRA. They found 1.25 million, which I said. And then additionally, to do the funding of the walkway, the boardwalk, and the fish platforms, there'll be 2 fish platforms. We are putting in $10,000 out of our 208 fund, which is basically our fund for matching funds. So the funding that we have through Fish and Wildlife required a $10,000 match, and we got $142,000 for $10,000. So that's not too bad of a deal. So of the $2.35 million that is being spent on this project, the county basically, county money, parks money, I should say, specifically, is $15,000. So that's a pretty good return for what we're able to get for the county and for the people of the county. The job's going well. The contractor did the bridge in 5 weeks, which is amazing. They have the right crews. I asked the foreman the first day that they started, I said, you've done this before? And he said, been doing this for 30 years. I said, how many bridges have you built? And he said, less than 500, but more than 450. I said, you're the right guy. We need you. So did a great job, and they're on the Nunica, and we could certainly use them again on other projects if we have the opportunity. Great group. So Conservation District, not so much parks, but there's a tire recycling. It will be Saturday at the Road Commission garage. We already have 2,000 tires reserved for pickup, or drop off rather. And parks, back at Doolittle Park, the Conservation District had the pond camp out at Doolittle 2 weeks ago. They had 35 grade schoolers basically for 4 days, and 12 high school kids. So they were out there for 4 hours each day. They had a blast out there. Great pictures, and you see Facebook. I'm not a Facebook person, but I have somebody in my family that tells them when they need to know, my wife. And great pictures, so they're really doing a great job there. So Conservation District-wise, our Executive Director, Susie Knoll, has elected to leave the district, and she will be assuming in September, will be assuming the role of the Executive Director of the Conservation Resource Alliance. So we're really sorry to see Susie leave. She's done a fantastic job for the 10 years she's been here. On the other hand, we're really pleased that she's going to CRA because it can only help Oceana County with additional funding for projects that only our minds can even begin to think about what this could be. So CRA is largely rivers and streams, and rivers and streams are a major part of what we're doing here in Oceana County, and parks and a lot of other things. So that's basically things in a nutshell. I don't have any good Coast Guard stories. Wish I did. So anything I can answer a question on? Did you have a chance to look at the dam or the removal?
Good pictures that John Weinswig put up, tremendous.
Yeah.
And the excavator on the bridge that's quite a picture.
Yeah, 100,000-pound excavator on the middle of the bridge. If anybody has any question about whether the bridge will be substantial enough, that should end that.
Yeah.
Yesterday they had on the roller and the asphalt truck and the paper machine on there. So with a full load of asphalt, it's probably 40,000 pounds, maybe 50,000 pounds. It's a lot of weight. The bridge isn't going anywhere. They guarantee it for 80 years.
It's exciting what you guys got going on out there.
Yeah. That we need. So, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Gary.
you, sir. Any public comment? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Mr. Morse.
Are you ready, Ms. Anderson?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna call to order the Finance and Administration Committee meeting. The roll call, please.
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. Beggs,
Really excused by the chair.
Mr. Hardy,
Excused by the chair.
Mr. Walker,
Present.
Mr. Morse.
Here. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 13th.
So moved.
Support, Walker.
All right, thank you all. Any conversation? All in favor say aye.
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 And opposed the same. Motion carries. Any changes to the agenda? Being none, can I get a motion to approve it?
So moved, Walker.
Support, Erickson.
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment for Finance and Administration Committee. All right, first item and only item on the agenda, well, action item, is the payment of claims. And that is ambulance fund total 5969, brownfield redevelopment authority total 6710, automation ROD fund 96624, indigent defense fund total 32,237.94. Veterans Affairs, I guess I need reading glasses, 639672. Tech and Innovation Fund 173166. Building Department Fund total 16,245.51. The General Fund total of $550,597.16 with a grand total of $615,302.02. We get a motion for that? A motion?
Not this one.
Oh, okay,
It's in the regular.
Regular agenda.
right. Oh, so I just did the whole thing?
You can do.
You can do it again.
Yeah, you'll be getting to
It was
do
I was
Yeah.
trying to do it fast.
It was practice. So
All right, well then I guess Administrator Byard.
So the claims are in your packet.
Yes. Tracy?
Yep.
Just 1 second here. We had the claims for payments, we had copies of them, in our packet, this one. And I think that's all straightforward unless anybody had any questions on that one for this committee. So, okay. No, Administrator, I'm sorry, Phil.
That's okay. Administrator report?
And a report's been provided for you in your packet. Did anybody have any questions on anything on there? If not, I would ask, Mr. Walker and Mr. Erickson, we have done the building tours and property tours for the county. Are there any that we're missing or any that we need to get on a schedule? Just want to make sure that we got them all.
We really need to go out to the transfer station somewhere in this process so that we're aware of, the changes that'll happen and what our final product will be.
Why don't we consider, Life EMS is building their new facility right straight across the road from the transfer station. And I toured that with Mark Meyer on Thursday, and they are going to have an open house, and they are going to have an open house towards the end of the summer. And it might be such a thing that would be a good time for us to go to the transfer station right at the same time when they have that open house.
Mhm.
And instead of driving out there now,
Mhm.
do you see a problem with it doing them both at the same time?
No, that's very good.
So, and I will say it's a small station that they're building there. There's only one bay. Very, very well laid out station. And I think it's gonna be very workable. It's probably 150 yards off of M20, sitting on the north side of the road. So access is going to be a clear vision pulling out of there. It's gonna work very, very well. There will come a time that we probably, Tracy, need to take a look at the life agreement with, look at it as far as the Shelby building. And I think there is a discount in what Life pays us right now because of that, using that facility. We're gonna have to look at all of that and see where we are, you know, when they move out to the other facility. And make a decision, with that building in Shelby, you know, what we're gonna do with that. So there's some things to think about coming up in the future on that, but let's do the transfer station at the same time. Instead of driving out there 10 miles, let's just do the transfer station at the same time.
Well, then our lease agreement will have developed by then, and we'll know a little more about scales, and we'll have a much better picture.
And we should have a design, you know, to do them both.
Like it.
One other, we may want to go and look at the 911 building together too. You know, as I had said with the sheriff, that was very interesting last night and on the news, and to see that the generator ran and we handled the calls, and it was a sheer wind that, you know, what I'm hearing about Whitehall and Montague and further south and Holland, Michigan. We're lucky we have you here today.
I know, in a trailer by the beach.
But yeah, 911. I've been out there, but have you been out to 911?
Yeah.
Good. So.
Well, and Craig is on that board, and Tim is a alternate for that board, so they've been out to that building too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else? All right, department head reports. We've already had those. Oh, additional.
I got two additions. The Parks Commission did approve the 5-year plan, and it's been sent to the county board for approval. It would be acted on today if we had all the numbers here, but hopefully, the date, is it the next board meeting?
Yes, the 11th.
That will come to you,
Yes.
and we can get that finally finalized. Also, we printed up 8 new signs, 2x3, all the parks rules and civil penalties are actually added to the parks lingo now. And Pete Lundborg is studying the best way to mount those in each of our parks. So he has 2 of the signs, and he's figuring out the best way to mount those. So we're working on that. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. McKean. Public comment. Ms. White.
Morning, Vaughn.
Hello, Board. Vaughn White, Valley City Metal Products in Rothbury and Shelby. Just a tease of information for you. We are in the process of applying for a federal grant. It's due in November, and you'll hear more from Curtis and I in a later meeting about this grant. When we think about the devastation that happened with the wind, and the development of a community center in Rothbury that could house support for those that may be displaced because of weather. That could be part of that grant process. So just listening to that brings that ahead. But again, you'll get more information about how the county might be able to help us with that process. The grant would be somewhere around $10 million, but we're still figuring out the different criterions that are involved in that. So just wanted to give you a heads up.
Thank you.
Vaughn,
Yes.
I hope that you have the opportunity to reach out for as many governmental units as possible for letters of support,
Thank you.
because it makes a huge difference with those things, as you know.
We will be fishing out. Our environmentalist that we contract with also works with the Brownfield Authority, is helping to write that grant. It's a very large grant.
It's good to have Valley City in the neighborhood, and I hope you're here for a long time.
Yeah.
We hope so too.
Thanks, Mr. White. Any other public comment? All right, being none, we'll adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee and we'll reconvene at 11:30 for our regular board meeting. And then I'll do the claims payment.
Okay.
And-
Deal.
and- and-
Do you want to borrow my red
I was
glasses?
excited about this.